So I was talking with a good friend of mine yesterday, and he's very, very successful to a certain extent, especially for his age. He's around 27 years old, 28 years old. He does very, very well. And he was telling me, he's like, Martel, like, I have this business stuff dialed in. I have my ambition, I have my drive, I have my motivation, inspiration to go in and dominate in business. But for some reason, with my physique, I cannot. I know I have this feeling that I need to get jacked. I know that I need to do it, but I just don't have the motivation. I don't have the drive to be able to stay disciplined going to the gym and eating clean. Like I just don't feel like doing it, even though I know I have to do it, right? And he's a father as well, right? So it's very interesting to have those types of conversations because I talked to him. I was like, look, man, I'm going to be very honest with you. There's one thing that you have to understand, right? What was the motivation behind when you were in the best shape of your life? When was it that you were in the best shape of your life? And he told me, he was like, back a couple of years ago, right? Like, and I said, well, what were you doing during that time? What was your life like? And he was like, well, I was obviously talking to a bunch of women. I was out. He was in the streets, right? Like he was doing his thing. And I was like, so what was your biggest motivation then? And he was like, honestly, just being attractive to women. Like that caused me to want to work out and go harder. And I stopped him there and I said, look, exactly. That's exactly what I wanted you to understand is that you had a certain shallow level of motivation or a shallow level of inspiration to be able to go out and get in the best shape of your life, which drove you to do it. And then I asked him, I was like, so what's your motivation now? Why do you go to the gym now? Why do you think you need to go to the gym now? And he was like, well, I don't know. I mean, just to be healthier, I guess to like live longer. And I told him, I was like, that's exactly why you're not going to the gym consistently. And I'll tell you this. And I explained to him, I was like, for me, my motivations for going to the gym, for training hard to be able to build the physique that I have and to maintain that for over the last 10 years has always been something that society has seen as superficial. But in reality, it was something that was visceral to me. It was something that was primal to me that forced me to keep going. And I asked him, I was like, well, why do you want to make money? Right. And he was like, well, I mean, it's a status, right? It's just having money. Like it gives me the luxury to be able to get whatever it is that I want. I want this car, I want this, and I want that. And I'm like, exactly. You don't just make money because you just want to survive, because you're past the survival point. It's not about that. It's the deeper reason. And it's what I tell a lot of guys here that you guys listen to me and I say, hey, look, getting jacked is all about status. And you think that it's BS and you're like, I don't want to listen to this guy because it's not true. And you want to reject the fact that status is the reason why you do a lot of the things that you do. And again, it's not me pushing my ideology on you. It's just me understanding the truths that I've seen by talking to a bunch of different people and by also analyzing myself. And it's like for me, and I had to explain to him, I was like, look, if you want to be able to go to the gym and you want to be able to eat clean and you want to be able to stick to a specific routine, you have to figure out what society would call a shallow reason for you to do it. And he was like, shit, I don't really know what that shallow reason is. And I told him, I was like, well, I could already think of one, and it's power, right? You're in business. You're posting content online to attract more people to your business. You know that if you do get in shape, I was like, look at all the people that are around you. Look at all the people who you look up to. Are they in shape? He was like, yeah. He's like, oh, Alex Hormozy, you got Andy Elliott, you got all these guys who are in shape, right? And they're dominating the online space. He's an online business guy, right? And I told him, I was like, your shallow, superficial reason should be that you want to dominate in business. You want to command rooms without having to say a word when you walk into those rooms as an entrepreneur. You want to be able to basically showcase that your body is a status symbol, right? You want so that your words can hit harder to be seen as an authority. That's why you want to get in shape. Right? That's what you should have as a mental model. Now, a lot of the people who are softer will think that that's wrong. They'll say, oh, that's so super superficial and like that. That's how a lot of people started to go to the gym in the first place. That's why I started to go to the gym in the first place. I wanted to get bigger. I wanted to be able to attract more women. I wanted to be able to have more respect with the men that I was around. I wanted to look intimidating. I wanted all of those shallow primal desires. If you ever study Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs and you see at the bottom, these are primal desires. In marketing, the best way to be able to attract someone in marketing is to target the primal desires, which are sex or reproduction. It's it's also love. It's also or belonging. It's also survival. All of these things, all of the best companies in the world are able to attract people's attention, are able to get people to be intrinsically and extrinsically motivated by sticking to the bottom pyramid of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Go look that up if you need to. But that also extrapolates into getting jacked because it's the same thing. Most people who are successful and stay successful with their physique is because they identify a primal need. Maybe it's women that they want, right? I'm not telling you to go chase women. I'm telling you to become the person who can attract those types of women, right? In business, a lot of the entrepreneurs that I've either trained in person or worked with online, they've always wanted a feeling of respect when they walk into rooms because they feel like they're overlooked. They feel like their ideas are overlooked. They feel like they're not even attracting a network of people who actually want to work with them because they're not unique enough. They want to stand out, right? Again, lower society says shallow motivations. Don't ever do that, right? You have to look for the deeper reason. So they always tell you to go for, and a lot of the stuff that don't work are marketed at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is self-actualization, right? That's what a lot of people say. Become the best version of yourself. That's very, very good in theory. It's very ideal. We all want to become the best version of ourselves. But the truth is, that doesn't give us a visceral reason for why we do what it is that we do. That may be the outcome, which is the top, right? But it has to tie into the bottom level, the primal reasons, right? Why do you want to become the best version of yourself? Because you want to attract the best woman, or because you want to be able to, have the ability to make more money, or you want to have the ability to be able to have a higher network, right? To be able to upgrade yourself. You have to always tie it to those primal desires, which always go with status. And I'm reading this book called The Status Game, and it's super, super powerful because everything is a status game. It's really interesting. And it's like, it always used to be like this, but now it's even more, right? And the people who deny the fact that it's a status game, life is a status game, at least the life that we live in now, right? The people who deny it just realize that they can't get there, right? Because everybody who understands that it's a status game, they go into different circles, they maybe join a community, or they may do some niche of an activity, or like join some niche group, CrossFitters, right? Why do people join CrossFit? Because they want to be able to enter a status ecosystem to where they can upgrade their status within a community. Why do people want to go to the NBA? Yes, to make money, but also because they want to upgrade their status within a bigger status game. The NBA is a status-based game. The number one team, which is the highest status team, always wins, right? And they always get the best reputation, which means they make the most money. The people at the highest status levels make the most money, period, in this day and age right now, right? And if you don't, I'm telling you, read the book, The Status Game, if you really want to understand what I'm saying. Because what I'm saying isn't just BS. It's not. It's reality. Like, they did a study of illnesses compared to the status levels of people. And I didn't even know this, but they said that people who are of lower status or who have dropped in status in society tend to be more prone to illnesses. People who are higher status in society tend to be less prone in illnesses because people who are lower status have the stress because internally they want to have that status, but they try to reject it, and they try to be zen, they try to do all of this, and they try to reject all of these different desires of status that they have, and their body goes into stress, and they can't release it. Whereas the people who are at higher status levels, they got the status, right? So they no longer want it because they already have it. So they've actually elevated beyond the status hierarchy, and they're playing a different game at that point, right? It's a different game of status at that point. Elon Musk is still playing a game of status. Donald Trump is still playing a game of status. And that game of status is around power. It's not around a lot of the visceral things that you see, right? Or the primal desires as much at that point, because they've already gotten that. They've already gotten the money. They've already gotten the women. They've already gotten the network that they want. Now it's a level above that. Now it's, how can I influence other people? Which is another status game, right? Which is what a lot of influencers do. And that's the reality of getting jacked. I take it all the way back to fitness. If you can start to understand that fitness can be a status game that you play, you will be in the gym a lot more consistently. You won't fall off from your goals. My best clients have been people who have literally worked because they want to attract better women. They want to be able to make more money because they want to be more presentable. Maybe they're salespeople. That's the reason why they do it. And it works for them. And then obviously as you get older, let's say you're in your 40s or your 50s, maybe you're in your 40s and your 50s and you're watching this and you're like, okay, this doesn't relate to me. Your level of status is being the best father that there is, right? You want to be the best dad. So you want to be able to be mobile enough to play with your kids. You want to have that longevity to be able to indoctrinate your kids into your beliefs, into being a superhero to your children, right? You want to be able to rise the status of dads, right? Be at the top level of status so your kids don't look at another dad and say, oh, I like him better. So you getting healthy, you getting jacked, you looking your best is to do that. And that's a very visceral reason to do it, right? It's survival of the hierarchy. Survival is at the bottom, right? Survival of the hierarchy. You don't want to drop down of the hierarchy. You want to thrive in the hierarchy, right? So that's a big reason. That's a big shift that I realized that helped my friend. He was like, bro, I never thought about it like this. This is insane. Like, why aren't people talking about this? And I'm like, because people are afraid to ruffle feathers. They're afraid to say what's actually true. They're afraid to speak to people's primal desires. And I'm not. I'll just tell you the brutal honesty. And you can either take it or you don't, and that's fine. But the reality is, if you want to be consistent in the gym, if you want to always be in tip-top shape, if you want to always, be able to decrease your desire to fuck up your fitness journey, always tie it to a certain status. Always tie it to the bottom hierarchy of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, wherever you're at. If you're married and you're committed, maybe it's not women, maybe it's power, right? Maybe it's money, maybe it's respect, right? Tie it to something. Tie it to something that's extrinsically motivating. And you'll find that your intrinsic motivation for fitness goes up. Tying it to just living longer is great when you're way older. But a lot of you are not old. You're between 25 to like 35. You don't need that. So I hope this was helpful for you. Links will be in the description if you want to connect with me in some way, shape, or form. If you want to just, get in the best shape of your life, links will be in the description. I can help you one-on-one. I've helped hundreds of guys in my life. Hundreds. In person and online. I've done it all. NASM certified. I've been in the actual fitness industry. I'm not some random influencer on YouTube that just popped up and no credibility whatsoever. Like I've went to one of the top business schools, and I've also had my NASM certification, National Academy of Sports Medicine, and I've worked in gyms, and I've become the top trainer in almost every gym that I've worked in. So there's credibility there. And also I've done it for myself, and I have the proof, right? So I hope this was helpful for you. I'll catch you on the next video.